Thank you, Afiz, for joining me. We have him here from E-Rides in the UK. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to Wheel Good Time.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
So, tell me about the ET Max here from Begode. You're one of the first people to get it.
The ET Max, just from a very high level spec, 3000 watt hour battery. The very first, I think, yeah, it is the first 168 volt system that we have. And I mean, you can look at it and it's gorgeous.
It's a beauty.
It's a beauty. It's a beauty. I think just again, just very high level in terms of this spec as well. And I believe this is the first time any EUC manufacturer has actually put this sort of tire on a wheel. So this is it's amazing to ride. It is heavy. Talking about highlight numbers, it's 50 kg, so you will feel it. There's no
Yeah.
hiding that. It's physics.
What do you think about the build quality overall? I know that in the past, Begode's had issues, especially back in the Gotway days. They were having some build quality issues, and they've gotten a lot better, especially ever since like the EX30 tended to come on the scene. Things were getting better and better. How does this look overall in build quality to you?
Uh, this is a step up, for sure. It is definitely a step up. It's not just about the build quality and the materials they've used. There's still room for improvement, and I will feed that back to Begode. But it's just little things like if you look underneath here, can you see the charge port?
Yes.
It's actually there's a cover that you unscrew to get to the charge port.
Right.
It's little small things like that. The material used as well. So there's a plastic here, and then underneath the plastic you have the LED light. I will switch this on. Actually, I'll get up and switch this on later when we start talking. But just in terms of the build quality part of this conversation, this part here is hard plastic. This is soft plastic. The battery case is made out of aluminum CNC. I'm not sure what grading it is. It is quite tough, bit heavy, but more about the weight and how that's an advantage later on. The pads, this has to be probably the best pads that's been added to any wheel on the market. Might even be the best pad that's been added to any wheel from the manufacturer on the market for a very long time. This pad makes the wheel look awesome, but also is very functional. The height of the pad as well, the adjustability of the pad, the softness of the pad. Again, I cannot speak highly enough of how well Begode has built this wheel and the amount of the amount of quality material they've used and attention to detail as well. Yeah, it's and even the kickstand too is made out of some sort of hard plastic, but it looks very rigid, which is good in some cases, but also very supportive of this 50 kg wheel. Yeah.
Being that it's 50 kilograms, that's roughly what the V13 is, more or less. Does it feel top heavy to you?
Not as top heavy as you would expect, and the reason why is because the battery case. If you look over here, let me just hold it. The battery case over here actually goes a bit, lower.
Right.
At the beginning, when they were showing some of the initial videos and pictures, a lot of people were probably worried that would be hitting the ground when you use a suspension, but actually works for the wheel because there is mass at the bottom part of the wheel, which actually helps you with stability. And then obviously it's a tall wheel, right? But having the battery say a little bit lower actually helps the high speed stability because you have more weight below the axle of the wheel. So that will help. Yeah, it's not as top heavy as you would think. Yeah.
Okay, so I can see how with the battery cases being set as low as they are, it's good for stability, but that would make it, especially combined with the weight of the wheel, make it probably not very good for trails. Is that a accurate assessment?
I think I've not taken on trails, but just based on my experience using the ET Max, I think that will probably be accurate as soon as somebody is brave enough to take a 50 kg on trail.
I've taken my Master Pro on trails, and it's it's competent at trails
Yeah,
for what it is, and it's heavier
yeah,
than the ET Max, but then
yeah.
you put it side by side with something a lot smaller, and it's like, okay, this is obviously better.
Yeah, exactly. This is not a trail wheel. I would not recommend this for anybody that wants to go on trail. Obviously not. It's 50 kg. It's not nimble. It's heavy. The battery case is a bit lower than you expect. So therefore, the ground clearance is not favorable for trail riding, as you can see. But yeah. Apart from that, if before you buy a wheel like this, you must know why you want to buy it. It's I wouldn't call it a mass market wheel, and that's it is a bit specialized. And I know that we're probably going to talk about, and a lot of people are, and rightly so, comparing it to the Lynx. I think they overlap. I don't think they're direct competitors. I think this is probably one class above the Lynx. And when I say class, I'm not talking about superiority. I'm just talking about in terms of class. Like obviously, Master Pro is not the same class as the Lynx, for example,
Gotcha.
right? Yeah. So in terms of the weight, in terms of the top speed, in terms of how it accelerates from zero, obviously you're not going to beat Lynx that's like 10 kg lighter than it off the line. But where this actually shines is from that 30 onwards, and the stability that the weight, which could be seen as a disadvantage at the beginning, then becomes an advantage when you're going higher, in terms of velocity, and how that would then helps you give you confidence on higher speed.
Gotcha.
So
Okay. Yeah.
I'll probably say this is probably more closer to a V13, as you've rightly said, than even a Lynx.
Okay.
So
How much of a beating? I mean, obviously, this is just a prediction, but how much of a beating does this ET Max seem to be able to take, do you think?
I think it will take a beating. Obviously, the weight will work against it, because if you drop a 50 kg wheel like this on the ground, it will hit really hard. But even little things like, you know, that is a fender. Usually Begode will put probably like a plastic fender there,
Yeah.
but that is solid. Um, in terms of build quality, this will take a beating. If you look at some of the screws over there, if something hits here, or you drop it, obviously that will scratch. But I believe this will still survive most falls.
Okay.
Um, you could say a disadvantage to using material that is like this, that is solid, is that if you do hit it, and it does bend, you will probably have to replace it. There's no flex. But I
Got it.
think before
Okay.
you do flex, it will have to be something really bad, if you know what I mean.
So I see that you have the E-Rides pedals on there as opposed to the standard Begode pedals. Is that a
Yeah.
business decision, or is that because the pedals on the ET Max are actually bad?
The pedals on the ET Max are not bad. I have to again give them credit, where credit is due. It's just that it's a 50 kg wheel. You need all the grip that you can get to push the wheel forward to accelerate. And going with the E-Rise pedals is because we need more grip. We need, for acceleration, and also to have more confidence while riding. I can show you the pedal that comes, and we can have
Sure, yeah.
and you can, yeah, I can show you. So this is what comes with the ET Max.
Okay.
You can see it's pretty standard, right? Nowadays the studs work well, but when you are working with such a body of mass to move, you need all the grip you can get. And right now, obviously, we've got E-Rides pedals. So yeah, and plus you got the red and red over here, and that's badass.
Obviously. Yeah, as far as pedals are concerned, every EUC in this era needs to have actual studs, and it drives me crazy that there's so many brands, good brands like Leaperkim, that are putting bumped pedals, not studded pedals, just bumps.
Mm,
And it's good to have that. It's critical, but I really do like the fact that on E-Rides pedals that they have the
yeah,
heel and toe risers, which really do
yeah.
noticeably increase the grip with the pair that I have. So I understand what you're saying. I really like E-Rides pedals, but it doesn't seem like the pedals on the Begode ET Max pedal. They're not bad.
They're not bad, but you will start to see you start to get the limitation as soon as you start to get more comfortable with the wheel and you want to push it harder,
Right.
and you will feel some of the limitations. Maybe in the first 5 miles of you riding this, whilst you're getting used to it, I'm feeling it out a little bit, you'll be okay. But once you start getting confident on this wheel, and this wheel does exude confidence, and you will start to get more comfortable, and you start to then find the pedals to be lacking. So
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
but I would say again, we also sell limb pads as well. But I would definitely say that for this wheel, you do not need to buy fairing or even pads. And again, I cannot give Begode enough credit for actually making sure that this looks and is ready almost out of the box. Obviously, without the pedal, but with the limb pad and the fairing, you do not need fairing. You will probably still need to get a proper Velcro, because the Velcro that came with the wheel wasn't a good one. So
It says a lot that, yes, you put on new pedals, but as someone who also sells your own brand of pads, saying you don't need to get new pads with the ET Max, that says a lot. That either says that you're either a very honest person or that they made such good pads that I don't know.
I know that. I actually think the second one. I'm honest as well, but at the same time, you have to just say they've made such good pads with this wheel that it blows what we have or anything on the market. If you want the wheel to look good, to still hold that look, and also have it to be functional,
Gotcha.
um, yeah, it's the best pads for this wheel, really.
Let's move into talking about what everyone really wants to know about is the power. Tell me about the power, the torque, the acceleration. I know you live in Mordor for EUCs, and so uh, you can't go, on the autobahn or whatever. You can't go right on the highways in Dubai. But please tell me more about the power on this wheel.
We did a comparison. We did a couple of comparisons. We compared it against the V14. We compared it against the Lynx and some other wheels. Some of the guys came over here to ERI's HQ. So the power delivery on the ET Max, again, is physics. It's 50 kg. It's not going to out accelerate a V14, for example, or even an Extreme. We tried. It kept up. But where the ET Max really starts to shine is at the middle to the top end part of the acceleration curve.
Right.
And that's where confidence happens. Don't expect a 50 kg wheel to accelerate a Lynx or a V14. If you have the same rider with the same skill set, and again, on both wheels, the Lynx will probably bid off the line. It's just normal, especially if you put the E-Rise lowering kit on the Lynx as well, which will allow you to kind of, reduce your wobble once you're accelerating.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's not what this wheel is about. As I said, the Lynx and the ET Max do. There is some synergies in terms of capabilities, but they're not completely aligned. Again, only because I'm one of the few. I know Marty in California, I've already got this as well. Yeah, and so it's important to just know what the market is, rather
Okay.
than comparing again. I shouldn't really, be compared again.
So what you're saying is that with the ET Max, it has okay low end torque, but really where it shines is the high end at the high speeds. Is that accurate?
That is accurate for medium to okay riders. Now, there's some riders out there that will know how to, like with this pads over here, you can take out the pads and move it a little bit forward or just angle a little bit. So give you more leaning angle, right?
Right.
So you can actually improve the acceleration curve. But that is obviously with experience. So there are some riders out there that can lean hard and actually get as much torque out of this. It does have torque. Don't get me wrong. The torque is there. The acceleration um, from zero will be lacking, as I said, because of 50 kg
Okay.
and above. But yeah, it's not a 0 to 20 wheel.
Okay. Fair enough. What is your thoughts on the suspension? Since they did a total redesign on this
Yeah.
new suspension variety.
Yeah. Um, it's not as good as the ones provided by Leaperkim. That's just a straight to the point. Is it better than what they've provided before? Absolutely. You still it could be because of the way we've set up the suspension, but let me see if I can get up and switch this on. Hold on 1 minute. I think it's all right. Let's hold it. Oh, 1 minute. You got it. All right. So we're now up. So let me show you the suspension. The suspension is made directly by Begode themselves. It has the red and blue. I think that's rebound and a compression, so you can adjust that from directly from here. In terms of the way it feels, you can see we've been using it quite dirty, right? So we've been riding it properly. But but in terms of the way it feels really nice. It feels really nice. It's the best that they've released so far.
Good.
It's not as good as Leaperkim, of course. That's a third-party vendor, Fast Ace. So they are, Fast Ace specialized in making suspension anyway. So you expect that at least during this current life cycle to still be ahead of Begode. But Begode are catching up pretty fast and pretty quickly.
Well, that's good to hear. But now I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, hey, wait, no, the ET Max has 130 millimeters of suspension travel, and Leaperkim on the Lynx only has 90. So checkmate. How would you respond to that?
You can't just compare numbers only. You also have to understand how and what our suspension we're talking about. These are two different suspension philosophy right from the get-go. The Leaperkim one will shine in other areas where this also shine as well.
Okay.
And I know that there is always a temptation to always compare one thing and always conclude this is bad and good. There's always that. Yeah. It is great for marketing, of course, but I think everybody out there that's experienced riders understand that a wheel that is best for a certain condition might not be best for other kind of condition. And I think for this kind of wheel, this suspension is good. You can swap it out. I'm sure somebody out there will find a way to make this into a suspension, and the versatility that this suspension does provide you, this suspension setup provide you cannot be overlooked over what Leaperkim provides as well.
Okay.
So
awesome.
Do you want the iPhone experience or do you want the Android experience, really? So that's where you kind of need to.
That's exactly the way I've thought about it with Begode is the Android experience. Leaperkim tends to be the iPhone experience.
Yeah, I know. It's a nice, and also don't forget about you can also adjust the pedal height as well.
Yes.
So that makes a lot of difference. I was speaking to Sean or Hyson, as people call him in New York, and he said that Don in California told him or recommended for him to increase the pedal height. And that helped him accelerate even better as well. So was able to get more leverage. But you can get away with that with the ET Max and not the Lynx, because the ET Max still has weight at the bottom, below the axle. So increasing the pedal height would not have as much detriment on the stability as you will have on the Lynx. And that's why we obviously came out with the Lynx E-Rise lowering kit.
Okay, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So with the ET Max, now that you've got it in your hands, you've tested it thoroughly, what kind of customer or what kind of rider would you recommend this wheel for?
Experienced rider for sure. You need to know what you have. You need to know what you're riding. Don't just jump on it and think you can start hitting, or at least tapping into the performance curve immediately. You do that and you're not ready, you might hurt yourself. You need to understand and play around with the Begode app as well. Understand what race mode is, understand what off-road mode is, and also the pedal softness as well. Begode recommended for me, because initially when I got the wheel, I was complaining about the acceleration and the lack of acceleration, and I wasn't really happy. A lot of people that will get this wheel expecting it to just accelerate, you will be disappointed. You will not get that initial torque out of it, or what you think is torque. You need to give it time to understand what you have. You need to make sure that, and this is what I've done, put it in medium mode and also put it in race mode. That will improve your acceleration of the line. But that's not what this wheel is made for. It's made for people that want to cruise. At
Interesting.
a,
Well, being a cruiser, but it doesn't have the cruiser battery capacity.
yeah, it doesn't.
That's
But that's
interesting.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So it kind of probably checkmates itself a little bit there.
Mm.
But
Well,
but I do know that there's a bigger version coming out, as in bigger version of 168 volt with a bigger battery. I'm sure you even know that there's a 168 volt, 4,500 watt hour battery system. I'm not sure if it's going to look like this. I've not seen it, but just the system in terms of 168 volt system.
well, I've been
With,
hoping that they would come out with that. I heard. I mean, you may have seen a video about it. Where I heard the murmurings about there being a about 6,000 watt hour EUC that's 168 volts with a monstrous price tag. I think 6,000 watt hours is a bit excessive in terms of when it comes to weight. But I mean, I know there would be some people that would buy it. But is it a confirmed number of 4,500 watt hours that you've heard for this wheel?
I know that there has been, and this is just based on me seeing a poll on Facebook. I believe Archie.
Oh, okay.
Um, so, and I also heard from some. I'm not sure who I was speaking to. I can ask Bigo directly. I just don't have the time or don't think it's that important because I'm not in the market for that kind of wheel yet.
Right, right.
But I know that there've been choice to be made. Either it's the 4,500 watt hour or the 6,000. The 4,500 is already too heavy as it is, but in the 60 something kilogram, and then the 6,000 is going to be even more than that watt hour. So it kind of starts to defeat the purpose of micro mobility.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah, I
that's the
agree.
point.
As a Master Pro owner, I'm thinking like this is the top end now. I used to think, boy, I could, give me the heaviest wheel you got, but now I'm coming to the point where it's like, okay, you're right. This is getting too heavy. But for the
Yeah,
ET Max, what's that?
yeah. No, yeah, go ahead. You were going to say something about the ET Max
Oh,
weight, right?
uh yeah, I was just thinking how the ET Max is so similar in many ways to the V13. And like hear me out. They're both waterproof. Now the ET Max is not IP rated. They have similar, almost identical battery capacities.
Yeah.
They both are made to go really fast. Like
Hmm.
the biggest difference, I mean, they both have very high build quality. They're similar height. They're so similar. The
Yeah.
only major difference to me is the tire size and the voltage compared to the
Yeah.
V13. And the V13 didn't sell that well overall,
Mm,
like worldwide. So
yeah.
I'm thinking, I used to think, and I still sort of think this way, that the V13 is a solution in search of a cause, or sorry, a solution in search of a problem.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm almost thinking, is that possibly what we're looking at with the ET Max? And I know that you're selling it and you want to sell 1,000 of these, but
Mm.
that is the thought that crosses my mind with the ET Max.
So, so, so to me, to correct you there, I kind of have a dual role. Dual role, as in, yes, I work at E-Rides with my other colleagues. But before working at E-Rides, I'm also a rider at heart. My heart is an EUC rider. It beats for EUCs. And I will always like any new EUC. It's just the way it is, the hype machine, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I do get sucked into the hype machine as well. Would I say the ET Max is my day-to-day wheel? Hell no, I'm not. It's not. That's why I said earlier, it's not a mass market wheel. That's what I think anyway. 50 kg shouldn't be a mass market wheel. It's not something I can pick up and go down to your neighbor's house or whatever. It's not. I'll probably say the weight limit for something that is an EUC should probably be like 42, 43. Anything
Okay.
below that is anything above 45, 47, 48. It starts to get a bit heavy for most
Right.
people.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So is it a is it a solution to a problem that we do not have? I think it's a I think it's a solution to our our need for speed.
Okay.
Um, Obviously, you guys in the US are very lucky. It's legal over there. So I don't want to speak for everybody, but I do understand that because I've traveled quite a bit now. So I can understand from different point of view. I think certain people in certain countries this might be a solution to some things that they're looking for to be able to travel at 55 and not think about beeps or whatever. That gives you that reassurance. Just like the way the V13 was probably created for that particular solution, if you know what I mean.
I know what
So
you mean. Yeah.
I, yeah, I think
Being
that is a solution that they are trying to solve, V13 and the ET Max.
right. Yeah. And with a higher wattage motor with higher voltage system, you're able to ride at a much higher speed at a much lower battery level, which has always been an issue that's plagued EUCs forever. Is once you hit like 20% of your battery, you really can't
Yeah.
go that fast, which with these higher voltage systems, you can go at a decent speed without having to worry too much about that and accidentally cutting out. So I see what you're saying there.
Yeah. So I think that is what I mean. These are now hyper, AUCs in terms of performance wise, just like the way you go hyper cars,
Right.
right? So Bugatti is great, but Bugatti is bloody expensive. But when it first came out, a lot of that technology have now, triggered down through the VW group all the way down to some of the, cars that we're now seeing on the road, right?
Right.
And I think some of the uh, you know, ideas on these wheels and the design will trigger down, hopefully, to something a bit smaller down the road.
Well, that wraps up everything with all the questions about the ET Max and the earlier review. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you in part two.
Take care. Bye bye.